Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. For today, we're going to be doing this really fun thank you card, and this card actually has no stamping in it, which is very unlike me, but it has some really fun new products that we're using and I'm excited to show you guys. So let's go ahead and start out. So the one thing that I want to mention is I did use a different design of designer series paper here. It's from the same stack, so you could absolutely use this one. I just wanted to play with a different pattern and see what I thought of it. So just one little caveat there. So the main focal point of this stamp set, aside from the designer series paper, is our new alphabet die set. And this is the Playful alphabet dies. They are absolutely adorable. I actually took them out so I could show you guys. So one thing that I really like about this die set from the other alphabet die sets that we've had previously is on the cardboard. So this is the piece of cardboard that they come stuck to when you get them right out of your order. They have an outline of all of the letters directly on the piece of cardboard. That is the one thing that used to drive me absolutely insane. I could never figure out how to get my dies right back where I needed them in the perfect place. And not even that, I always felt like a little panicked. Like, did I forget one? Did I lose one somewhere? Did I misplace it? Did I put them all back? And they're not in any kind of order, so you can't really like go through the alphabet and see. So I think that them putting the outline of the letters on here was a genius move. So if you have not gotten this one and you've not kind of played around with it, it's a really fun set. So like I said, we're going to use that one today, and I really think that you guys are going to like it. The other kind of star of this show are our new foam adhesive sheets. So I'm going to show you guys how to use these. I didn't know how to use these, and I was a little skeptical when I first got them. I knew I wanted to play with them, but I wasn't exactly sure the best way to use them and how exactly that would work. So I grabbed these, and I'm so happy that I did. These are amazing. And then for paper, so we have, I'm going to start with my Night of Navy here. So we have a couple pieces of Night of Navy. I have one that's just a scrap. This is what we're going to use to cut out our letters. So what I did was I just kind of lined up my dies, and I just kind of looked to see, okay, what's a big enough piece that's going to cut out all of my letters. Just a scrap is all you need. And I'll show you how to get the most out of your cardstock and your foam when we get into the project. And then we're also using Night of Navy for our card base. So this is just our typical card base cut at 8.5 by 5.5 and scored at 4.25. And then we are using a piece of Purple Posy, and this is cut at 4 inches by 2.25. And then I have I don't know what that was about. I have a piece of the Playing with Patterns designer series paper, and this is cut at 5.25 by 4 inches. So again, I used a different piece of designer series paper on my example, and for this one I used white for my letters, and today I'm going to be using my Night of Navy for my letters. So play with this, play around with it, and just see what you like. I'm really excited for it, so let's go ahead and jump into it. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is we're going to cut out all of our letters, because that's really the focal point of this card and really where all of the work is. So like I said, I kind of played around with our new foam sheets and just kind of saw what worked, what didn't work for me, how to get kind of the biggest bang for my buck. And so what I've decided to do and what I thought worked really well, I need to grab my scissors, I forgot, is I actually cut the sheet in half. So obviously we're not using a ton, we're just doing some letters here. So cutting the sheet in half works really well. Depending on what you're going to be doing, you may need to use the full sheet. So just keep that in mind. But for this project, if you do it exactly how I'm doing it, you should be able to cut the sheet in half and have no issues. So then what I did is, again, I just kind of grabbed a scrap piece of paper that I had, and I'm just going to kind of match it up to the size of my foam here. And I'm just going to cut it. This doesn't have to be exact. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just easier if they're relatively the same size, so that's why I'm cutting it down. So next we're going to take our foam sheet here, and on each side of the foam you have some backing layers. So you have 2 backing papers and then 1 piece of sticky foam in the middle. So we're going to peel off one of the backing sheets of our foam, and you want to be careful. This stuff is super sticky, so just be careful to not get your fingers in it too much. Sometimes it's inevitable, it's going to happen, but just try not to get it in there too much. And all I'm doing is I just laid my piece of cardstock down and I'm just smushing it down. So this side's not sticky, and then our cardstock is stuck to the other side. So now what I'm going to do, and this is really the most difficult part of this card, you guys, I'm not even kidding. I'm now going to bring in my Big Shot, and I'm just going to take all of my letters that I have here, and I'm going to position them on the piece that we just put together. You could get a little more bang for your buck by like this little sliver here. I'm not going to use that. So you could kind of measure it a little bit more before and cut that piece off, so you have a little bit more foam and saving a little bit of cardstock. For me, I'm just going to go ahead and do it because it just wasn't worth kind of trimming that piece off first. So then all I'm going to do is I'm going to set down my plate on top, and I'm going to crank this through. I'm actually going to bring this a little closer to me. And it's going to be a little difficult to crank through. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's going to be hard, but you can push through it, and it's going to feel a little tight, but just keep cranking it. And then I'm going to crank it back through one more time. And I know I tell you guys that I crank it through twice just because it's easy and it comes back to me. I would definitely recommend cranking it through twice with this, because you have to remember you have a really, really thick piece that you're cutting through. So you want to make sure that you get lots and lots of pressure so that die goes all the way through all of your layers that you're cutting. Then you can take this, move it off to the side. Move your big shot out of the way. I'm going to take this and I'm just going to scoot it off to the side for just a couple minutes because I want to get my card base in order so that it makes assembling this card really easy. So I'm going to take all three of my pieces here. I'm going to set my purple posy off to the side just for a second. I'm going to grab my designer series paper and I'm going to grab my Stampin' seal, and I'm going to put my Stampin' seal all on the back of this. And then I'm going to stick this down onto my card base, just like so. Then I'm going to bring in my piece of purple posy. That is what this is called, right? I never use this color because I don't have the ink for it. The ink pad this is the one that we never had available. And so I don't ever gravitate towards it much. It's a beautiful color, but I don't grab it much because I don't have an ink pad to go with it. And that's kind of how I roll. I normally gravitate towards ink first. So I just put that piece dead center in the middle. You could do it off to the side. You could do it at the top, at the bottom, whatever works for you. I'm just going to do it right in the middle. And then I'm going to bring in my die piece here. So what I find is you can kind of turn it over and all of the dies kind of fall out. And then you can maybe scooch them all off to the side. And then you're left with all of these letters. So I'm doing thank you, and luckily thank you, there's one of each letter, so you don't have to duplicate. If you were doing something like happy birthday or something like that, you'd have to cut a couple times to get the duplicate letters, but it's not difficult. So what I like to do is I like to push from the top down through the bottom, and the reason I like to do that is so that you get to the backing paper on your letter. And this really helps give you the ability to position it on your card before you stick it down. So sometimes you might get a little extra. That's not that big of a deal. I just try to rip it off as best as I can. And then just be careful because this part's going to be sticky on the back now. But if you can push them through the back and bring it out as one whole piece where you get the backing paper, that's really what you're after. Sometimes it doesn't happen because just of the way that it cuts, but it's not that big of a deal. Just remember, if you don't get your backing paper, that you don't have your backing paper. So you may need to be a little more gentle with that piece as you're kind of handling it and positioning it where it should go. And I have a couple more. Ooh, I'm flinging them all over the place. But again, this one's super easy. I just wanted to kind of play around with this die set, and I really wanted to play around with the foam sheets like I was saying, because I was a little nervous. I wasn't 100% sure how to use them. And so this was a really easy one to do that with, and I love how it turned out. So on my O and my A, I'm just going to pull out the little center bit. Actually, I'll probably just leave it on the A for a minute. So what I'm going to do is now I'm just going to position these on my card. And I like to kind of position them a little bit first, just so I get a good idea for spacing. So I like to start with the middle letter, which for thank is going to be the A, and then I kind of build outwards. So this is why I was saying it's really helpful to keep the backing paper on it, because then you can position them in the relative area that you want them to go in before you stick them down, just so that you know that you're happy with the letter placement and the spacing and all of that good stuff. Ooh, this one has, oh, no, maybe not. It was just me. Another tool that I think is really useful for this project is the Take Your Pick tool. It can really help you kind of shift and position things into place. So see this? I actually want to shift everything over just a touch because I want it to be as centered as possible. And my K was a little close to the edge. So see, the Take Your Pick tool is really helpful because you can kind of use it to position things and kind of juggle stuff around. So there's my think, and then I'm going to start with my O right in the middle, just like that, and then my U, and my Y. And again, I'm not looking for these to be perfectly straight. I'm really just looking for general spacing. So I think that looks good. So now you can just start placing. I like to place in the same order that I kind of position in, if that makes sense. So I like to start with the middle letters and then build outward. And then you just peel the backing off of your little letters and stick them down. And it's really fun because they've got dimension to them. It's not difficult at all. Ooh, Alexa, stop alarm, please. I set an alarm earlier and I clearly forgot about it. So sorry about that. I'm just positioning these now. And then again, I'm going to start with the A just because I know that's what I want in the middle. I'm going to remember to poke out the little inner bit because you don't want that on your card. I mean, maybe you do. I don't personally want it on mine. And then we can just stick it down just like that. It's really easy. It's really, really fun to play around with these. I love the dimension and being able to get some dimension on some more intricate items. That's one thing that I always wish I had a way to do with like letter or alphabet stamps or more intricate stamps, is get a really nice way to be able to give some dimension to them really easily. You can kind of do it with dimensionals, but it's not super easy because you have to cut them and fiddle around with them. Even the mini dimensionals are way too big to put behind these letters. So this was a really ingenious thing for Stampin' Up! To bring to our collection, and I'm so happy they did. So now all I'm going to do, grab my bone folder, just like that, and there's our card, you guys. That's it. So 2 different ideas. Again, play around with colors, patterns. This designer series paper, this playing with patterns, it is the best designer series paper for this. Let me grab, I have the stack right here. It's the best for this because you have all of these really fun patterns, and so it's easy to just put a very simple sentiment on top of it and not have to get too crazy with it, and you kind of let the pattern in the background shine and do all of the work. So I really hope you guys enjoyed today's project. As always, you can find all of the supplies that I used today by going to littlemooncreation.stampinup.net. You can also see more details in the coordinating blog post, which is the first link in the description box below, or you can just go to littlemooncreation.com and click on blog. And other than that, I hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!